How's it going, everybody? Driver53 here, and today we are going to be taking another look at if tire selection matters when you're trying to pull equipment up a hill. We've had a lot of really good feedback on the last video, and I wanted to go ahead and touch base on just a couple of the questions here. And the first one is actually going to be by Alex Kopp and Richard G. And both of their comments were asking about the weight of the different brands. You know, does one weigh more and that made it perform better? Does one weigh less and it made it perform better? So I wanted to go ahead and take a look at that information right here. Here are the times from the last video that we had. As you can see, the BKT came in with a time of 35.66, and that is the best time that we saw amongst all of these tire brands here when you're running duals all the way around. So 8 tires on your tractor. This is the times that we had right here. In this next column here, this is the total weight. So I got this information by looking at the vehicle in the shop whenever I had switched the tires over. So as you can see, Trelleborg here is 13.8, Michelin's 13.9, Continental is 14.5. I mean, that kind of makes sense. It's a little bit heavier, right? And then you've got Midas coming in at 13.9, and then you've got BKT and Vredestein coming in at 14.6. So your two best performing tires actually weighed the most at 14.6 tons. I find that very, very interesting. And then it made me think that maybe the heaviest tires actually perform the best because there's the most amount of weight on them. Well, I did some conditional formatting here, and as you can see, the Continental is actually the slowest time, but it's not the lightest tire. Your Trelleborg, your Michelins, and your Midas are actually the lightest tire, but they performed right in the middle of the test. Your BKTs are the heaviest, they perform the best, but your Continental is almost as heavy as your BKTs and Vredesteins, but it performed the absolute worst. So I don't think it's based strictly on weight. And to support this, I went ahead and looked at all the weights on all the different configurations of the Trelleborg. So all the ones that we had the times on, I'm going to go ahead and put them up here right now. These are the exact same times that you guys saw earlier. And the next column here is going to be the total weight. So you can see that it goes all the way from like 12.6 tons all the way up to 14.8 tons. So we've got over a 2-ton difference here on the weights. So then I went ahead and threw some conditional formatting on the spreadsheet again. And as you can see, the slowest time does not mean that it's always the heaviest tire. So as you can see, the standard with wheel weights came in at a 49.93. It was almost the slowest, but it was 14.7. So I was like, okay, well, that doesn't really make sense because, you know, when I was looking at the other stuff, my heaviest tires were like my fastest. Well, here, 14.7 and 14.8, they were almost the slowest. Only thing slower than the standard with wheel weights and the wide with wheel weights were the Nokians. So I don't think that's it. And then you can take a look at the twin front and rear coming in with a 3853, and you can see that the weight on that was 13.8 tons. That's almost exactly in the middle of our ranges here. So it's really interesting that, like, if you've got a really heavy tire, it's not going to perform really well. And then if you've got a really light tire, it's definitely not going to perform very well. But then if you think back, our BKTs, those are the heaviest ones, and they perform the best. I really don't think that the weight of these configurations plays a factor into the performance of them. I mean, it may a little bit, but I don't think it's a big factor by itself. I think there's something else going on with some of the coding that Giants has set up for the amount of grip that each one of these tires has. I think that's what it is. And I've been thinking, how in the world am I going to be able to test this? And I would want to take a look at the surface area of the tire. That I feel like is going to be the best way for me to determine how much grip this tire has, and maybe I can backtrack from that. But in the game right now, I don't know a way that I can look at the surface area of the contact patch. So unfortunately, I think this is as far as I'm going to be able to go in the testing here, looking at the weight versus the performance of the tire. But it's not the last thing that I want to take a look at considering weight, because we also had a comment come in from Hedge Hobbit and was asking, what if we added a weight onto the front of this vehicle? So what I did is, you can see the weight right here in front of me, and we got the weight that corresponds to this piece of equipment. And what I mean by that, I went into the menu, looked at this, saw combinations, and it said if I'm using this subsoiler right here, I need to have this weight right here. And it's a 2,500 kilogram weight. So that's a pretty heavy weight for the front of this thing. And once again, I'm going to go ahead and put this chart up here. These are the times that we had whenever we ran the vehicle up the hill with no weight on the front. And then this right here are the times whenever we added the weight onto the front. So as you can see, some of these went faster, some of them went slower. Really, really interesting that I don't quite understand exactly why, but I do want to go ahead and show you the difference of times here with a little bit of conditional formatting. And the first thing that stood out to me was that the twin front and rear came in with a 38.53 with no weight, and then after the weight, it slowed down to a 40.26. And I'm like, holy cow, that is quite a drop. And then I noticed the ones that were actually faster. That's your standard with wheel weights. That's your wide with wheel weights. That's your rear twins only. That's your crawler track. That's your crawler track broad, crawler track 3M, and then your Nokians. I don't know what's going on with the Nokians, but those other 6, you have a lot of weight in the back end of that tractor, and I think it was actually lifting the front wheels off the ground a little bit, and you were losing some traction there. So by doing this, you can see that each one of these picked up by about 2 to 3 seconds. So that's a pretty good decrease in time. So my theory is if you're going to run something with some wheel weights in the back, definitely have a weight in the front of it. But on the other 5, I would not run a weight on the front of this thing if you're going to be on some ground that has elevation to it at all. But if you actually need the weight to be able to keep the wheels on the ground, then obviously you're going to need to do that. But I think if you have a vehicle that, drives well, it doesn't swerve around, I don't think you're going to need the weight on those 5 that you see right here in red. But the other ones, yeah, definitely go ahead and throw it on. It was quite the shock to me. And I just want to show you guys one more slide right here. This is the comparison between the Dirt Hill run and the Dirt Hill with weight with conditional formatting. So as you can see in the run without the weight, our twin front and rear came in with a 38.53, but whenever you added the weights, our crawler track 3 meter actually came in with a 38.77, almost as fast with a weight attached to the front. I was very, very shocked by that. And it actually beat the twin front and rear by 1.5 seconds. And there's some other ones here that just kind of stay medium in the pack the whole time. So if you like those types of tires, with the weight, without the weight, they're a good mid-performing tire. They're going to maybe save you a little bit of money. So I hope looking at the weights here in this video answered a couple more of your questions, but it actually gave me a lot more. In fact, enough to be able to make a 3rd video. And what are we going to be looking in that video? Well, we're going to be looking at different textures. So right here, I've got the hill covered in grass. We're going to be doing all the different painting types that you can put here on this hill. And then we're even going to plant some crops on it. We're going to harvest it. We're going to plow it. We're going to look at different things like that going up and down the hill. And we've done the same thing back here on this test, but we're not going to be actually subsoiling. We're going to be pulling a grain cart. And yes, that is a huge, huge grain cart with 146,000 liters of sorghum in it. So if you guys are interested in that video, make sure you hit the subscribe button and the notification bell too. Have a great day, night, evening, everybody. Until next time, this is Driver 53 signing off.